control is the means to survival.
I am a vision of the future, Shepard. The evolution of all organic life. This is our destiny.
But you have to choose.
I've never seen anything like it before. It was huge. And it was making this noise, this sound that bored right into your brain. It was emitting some kind of signal as it descended. It sounded like the shriek of the damned. Only it was coming from inside your own head. Whatever it was, felt like it was tearing right through my skull. Almost made it impossible to think.
Welcome to Episode 1 of Choose Wisely, an investigative series into the process of indoctrination as presented in the Mass Effect game series by BioWare. The goal of this series is to provide thought-provoking context for the events that take place in the games. We'll cover how this context applies to various characters throughout the trilogy, and more importantly, how it affects Shepard and perhaps even the player. We will also define what we believe to be the prominent themes of the series as intended by the writers, and how they relate to the ending of Shepard's story, paying special attention to the implications those themes present regarding the player's final choice. The first subject we'll cover is slow indoctrination. Slow indoctrination is the mysterious method employed by the Reapers to turn political figures and to create deep cover and sleeper agents, and figureheads that will position themselves to effectively further Reaper interests.
It is subtle at first. I thought I was strong enough to resist. Instead, I became a willing tool, eager to serve.
A key factor behind the success of long-term slow indoctrination is subtlety. Victims are never consciously aware that their mind is being reshaped by the enemy, slowly aligning their own morals, beliefs, and agenda to match those of the Reapers.
I'm saying they've got it right. I don't want the Reapers destroyed. You think because I'm willing to use the enemy's tactics that they're no longer my enemy?
Even individuals that are well educated on slow indoctrination have succumbed to the process.
Dangers. I had hoped this facility could protect me. I've studied the effects of indoctrination. Sovereign is too strong. It is too late for me.
There are few telltale signs that can be attributed to the ongoing process of indoctrination. Unfortunately, how these signs would be conveyed to the player as a first-person experience is left entirely up to the imagination. The Codex, which is written from an in-character perspective, lists the following as known symptoms displayed by victims during the process.
Reaper indoctrination is an insidious means of corrupting organic minds. Organics undergoing indoctrination may complain of headaches and buzzing or ringing in their ears.
I just need to get out of here and away from that incessant whispering.
As time passes, they have feelings of being watched.
I'm telling you, this ship isn't dead. It knows we're inside it.
And hallucinations of ghostly presences.
God damn! What? That thing, that just gray thing, it disappeared when I looked straight at it. It came out of the damn wall.
Long-term physical effects of the manipulation are unsustainable. Higher mental functioning decays, ultimately leaving the victim a gibbering animal. Rapid indoctrination is possible, but causes this decay in days or weeks.
I need to do what it says. I have to. Let me out. Let me out! Let me out! Let me out! Let me out!
What? Katie's my wife.
In addition to the symptoms mentioned by the Codex, others are established by the story via optional content in the games, comics, and books. Mysterious events such as the shared memories and dreams are experienced by the victims in the games, and various other causes and methods of indoctrination are conveyed only in the books and comics. Other mysterious symptoms can be inferred via optional dialogue from the characters, such as the infamous oily shadows mentioned by the Rachni Queen in Mass Effect 1. It is worth noting that a substantial amount of the information regarding indoctrination is only available to the player through this optional dialogue and content.
Give it a moment, Shepard. It'll give you the proof you need.
Step away from the reactor.
To date, we've seen that resistance is only temporary. All victims that have fallen prey to indoctrination have died, either by their own hand, if able to break free long enough, or by the hands of others in proactive or reactive situations.
Wounded! Injured! I'm down!
Indoctrination is subtle. By the time the effects become noticeable, it's usually too late. Now I just want to get out of here before it happens to me.
Thanks anyway, Shepard.
That's gonna bite you in the ass someday.
Slow, patient indoctrination allows the thrall to last for months or years.
It forced the singers to resonate with its own sour yellow note.
I was not myself, but I should have been stronger.
You can fight this!
Maybe you're right. Maybe there is still a chance for...
I am not entirely myself. I never will be again.
It wants me to stop you.
You have to stop me.
I'm sorry.
I can't.
I won't. Goodbye, Shepard.
I tried, Shepard.
Thank you. I won't!
So, the elusive man was right after all.
I only wanted to protect humanity.
But I can.
Are you willing to bet humanity's existence on it?
Because of the seemingly mundane nature of most symptoms, it is almost impossible to identify someone being influenced by the process of indoctrination before it is too late. Especially someone with a strong will and who doesn't like to show any signs of weakness, like Commander Shepard.
I'll stop them. I'll sleep when I'm dead.
It is such a subtle and dangerous weapon that others such as Saren and the elusive man became obsessed with resisting or controlling it, but succumbed anyway.
They're controlling you.
To make matters even more difficult, the narrative rarely goes out of its way to implicate something specifically as a symptom of indoctrination. So we should ask ourselves, what if there is something there that the narrative doesn't point out to us?
How do we fight something that can worm its way into your head?
I don't know. But we don't have a choice.
As the player, we might think it would be safe to assume that we can rely on the narrative to directly convey the effects of indoctrination to us. However, we must consider that BioWare did state they want us to feel what Shepard feels. Is it then possible that we are being purposely led to become obsessed with indoctrination? Is this part of the experience?
We don't set out to make a trilogy all the time, or, Mass Effect was always intended to be that the initial 3 games were intended to be a story arc, and we wanted to kind of build that. We had that plan for right from the beginning. Casey had a very clear vision of what he wanted to build.
My mind is still my own, for now. But the transformation from ally to servant can be subtle. I will not let it happen to me.
Do you hear that hum? Is that just me?
Now that we've touched on what indoctrination can do, let's take a look at what little we can detect before it is too late for Shepard.
Third day with this headache.
Despite the miracle of Metagel, it seems everyone has headaches once in a while, even in the 22nd century.
You had us worried there, Shepard. How are you feeling?
Like the morning after shore leave.
If we are to explore the cause of a headache, we must respect its context. Events preceding the symptoms must be factored in. Furthermore, Shepard is not one to publicly show weakness of any kind. Because of this, we must pay special attention to anything unusual that is shown only to the player, especially if it follows interactions with Reapers or Reaper technology. As the player, we must fathom the possible ways that BioWare might convey the presence of these symptoms to us. Since Shepard never comes forward to say, "I have a headache," we are left only with speculations based on what we see.
Sovereign's signal is too strong. Spend too much time near the ship and you feel it, like a tingle at the back of the skull.
Now I'm getting a headache.
Buzzing or ringing in the ear is another symptom that is not easily associated with indoctrination from the player's perspective. We are told about it in Mass Effect 1 on a few separate occasions, and later hear what could be considered buzzing or ringing in Mass Effect 2 and 3. But again, this is a phenomenon that is left up to interpretation and is never addressed by the narrative. Some odd noises can be heard on the Normandy in Mass Effect 2 by the main battery. This tone actually seems to resemble the ambient audio near the beam in Mass Effect 3, but it is much more subtle. Coincidentally, these auditory illusions that sound like they continually rise in pitch yet actually remain constant are known as Shepard tones. From a practical standpoint, it is reasonable to assume that the presence of this symptom would be conveyed through dialogue.
Nothing wrong with me, is there?
No, but we should keep
As a constant noticeable hum would be overly telling and would likely become irritating. But what about something benign? What if it blended into the music or other ambient sound effects in the area?
Infrasonic and ultrasonic noise and other subliminal methods.
His teeth are at my ear.
Like a tingle at the back of the skull.
If it did blend in to the point of not being noticeable, then it would correctly fit with what we know about indoctrination. With the exception of a hum on the Citadel in Mass Effect 1,
Anyone else hear that low hum? Sounds like it's coming from that statue.
James Vega is the only character who makes a comment on a persistent auditory anomaly that is never explained in the narrative.
Do you hear that hum? Is that just me?
The relay hum in Mass Effect 1 was intended to foreshadow its obvious purpose in the plot, which would not be revealed until much later. The case of James Vega hearing a hum, however, is seemingly innocuous and purposeless, unless viewed as an indoctrination symptom, of course. So, the story never jumps out and says Shepard is suffering from indoctrination symptoms. But the main question is, does that really mean we should feel safe?
Calm down. I'm telling you, the ship isn't dead. It knows we're inside it.
There are a number of examples of this symptom in different parts of the trilogy. The first we see from our perspective as the player is during the mission on Vermeer. When heading through the facility, we unexpectedly come across a lab area dedicated to studying the effects of indoctrination. This is where we find what remains of Karahay's missing infiltration team.
It tried to break me, but it couldn't. I shut it out.
What do they do to you, soldier?
Experiments, but I don't know what for. The effect of incessant whispering on my shortening temper? Who knows? I just need out.
Now, being watched has many connotations. It's not just about hair standing up on the back of your neck or the feeling of eyes on you. It's more of a general paranoia that you are being observed in one way or another, regardless of whether it is based on reality or entirely imagined. We see instances of this twice more through data logs on the derelict Reaper in Mass Effect 2, and during the mission at Kronos Station, where a squad member will comment that it feels like the Proto-Reaper is watching the team.
life form. Privately, I can't deny the atmosphere. The angles of the walls seem to press down on you. I find myself clenching my teeth.
Shepard has been around a significant amount of Reaper tech, as much as, if not more, than some of the characters we've seen affected by indoctrination. So, if we're looking for the symptom of feelings of being watched, we should examine as many aspects of their behavior as we can, some of which may be all too easily overlooked.
Commander Shepard, I didn't expect to see you here.
Have we met before?
No, but I know you well enough. I'm Executor Palin, head of CSEC. It's my job to know when someone like you arrives on the Citadel.
Hello, Spectre. I have a business proposition for you.
How did you know I'm a Spectre?
Word travels. Your name comes up in certain circles. I'm acquainted with a pair of...
These are reasonable reactions for someone of Shepard's character and position, at least in the beginning. But the tone and poise of some responses is unjustified, even for a renegade.
Looking you up. Commander Shepard, here with the Alliance military. First time on the Citadel, that about right?
Who wants to know?
Just checking for CSEC records. I can only sell goods to authorized personnel.
I don't like strangers
Keeping tabs on me. I don't like people
spying on me. Now you're digging into my past.
invading my privacy.
Are you spying on us, Joker?
Although typically a renegade dialogue option, these reactions make Shepard seem a little out of touch with their own stature. Even a renegade Shepard should have a better understanding of how and why these people may know of them. This progression from surprise to combative, mixed in with a little paranoia, is somewhat odd. Now, perceiving these overreactions as symptoms of indoctrination does require context that is not provided until much later in the trilogy. However, it does seem that Renegade Shepard is being unreasonably suspicious with some of their responses rather than simply being rude. Why would this be the case? At some points, this manner of response occurs even without input from the player.
Commander Shepard, we know you've reached Tuchanka. And by now, I imagine Morden Solus has proposed using the Shroud.
Are you spying on us?
Hardly. The Shroud is the only viable course of action open to you.
Why is it that we even have the option of being paranoid and indignant with these individuals? It's one thing to be renegade, but it doesn't seem like that should include being senseless and irrational. At some points, a renegade may even be angered with a squad mate, simply for possessing common public knowledge of Shepard's history.
Don't try to justify this. You're obsessed.
Obsessed? All I did was look up some information from the extranet. I would hardly call that an obsession.
Inconclusive? Or just the type of subtlety slow indoctrination relies on to remain innocuous until it is too late? So, outspoken paranoia and unreasonable suspicions aside, let's take a look at something else that can also provide insight into someone's state of mind. In Mass Effect 1, all the squad mates, including Shepard, have the same idle animations, Liara's elevator dancing notwithstanding, of course. In Mass Effect 2, however, something interesting was added specifically to Shepard, and it persists in Mass Effect 3. What is Shepard suddenly looking at and following with their gaze? Why take a posture of stunned and focused attention while standing idle? Are they hearing things? Seeing things? Perhaps both? It may seem inconsequential, but is it?
I don't know.
You hear that hum? Is that just me?
Strange people skulking in corners have gotten me in trouble before.
Are you spying on us?
What the hell is going on?
Incessant whispering.
Whispers in the back of my mind. He says he's listening to them.
I shut it out.
Something's not right here, Shepard.
You heard the logs? They were seeing things, hearing things.
Great thing! It disappeared when I looked straight at it. It came out of the damn wall.
indoctrinated.
This is perhaps the most controversial symptom given the events that take place in Mass Effect 3. However, we should take a step back and look at other evidence presented in the trilogy first, or rather, the lack of evidence to support this symptom even being mentioned in the Codex entry at all. On board the derelict Reaper, we found out through the main narrative that the Cerberus team was indoctrinated. Optional, however, were the various logs scattered throughout the ship that the player can either watch or ignore, which depict a variety of indoctrination symptoms. Until Mass Effect 2, there was no Codex entry on Reapers or Reaper indoctrination. The Codex entry for Reapers is accessible via the mission computer as soon as you wake up on the Lazarus Research Station. However, the entry for Reaper indoctrination does not get added to the Codex until the Derelict Reaper mission. The only mention of ghostly presence is within a single log entry from one scientist. How that was enough for it to become part of the Codex is anyone's guess, but stepping outside the game for a moment, BioWare must have had a reason for drawing our attention to this particular symptom.
When we took off that panel, I didn't see anything.
Shepard! In here.
You should lie down. I know I'm not the only one having those dreams.
We don't yet want to focus on the Mass Effect 3 dreams, as they will be covered in more detail in a later episode. However, it is worth mentioning that the shadowy figures in these dreams could be seen as the oily shadows described by the Rachni Queen in Mass Effect 1. It stands to reason that these could fit the ghostly presences symptom referenced in the Codex entry. We'd be hard-pressed to find a way of describing these without using the words shadow, ghostly, or whispering.
When it's silent, when there's no one else around, I can hear it. Whispers in the back of my mind. I can't tell what they're saying.
Beyond those ghostly figures in the dreams and that single log entry, there is nothing else that could be perceived as a ghostly presence in the entire trilogy, unless we reevaluate our perception of the boy.
Hey. It's okay.
Everyone's dying.
Through the eyes of Shepard, we first see this child playing on a rooftop park that has no visible access points. This park is gone once the Reapers hit the ground on Earth, with no signs of destruction or any other justification for its disappearance. If we examine the route the child would have to take, we notice an endless supply of low-resolution sprite people who seem to be fleeing from the same 8-story building where we soon find him. Let's assume the boy leaves the park at the same time Shepard leaves their accommodations at Alliance headquarters. He would then have to travel roughly 1 kilometer and up to the top balcony of an 8-story building in order to reach the location where he becomes visible. This balcony appears to have no exterior access, yet the boy makes it up there in about 7 minutes. These observations alone are enough to raise doubts about the reality of the situation. This could, of course, be just a game mechanic to put the boy in Shepard's path. But why not move Shepard's room and the rooftop park closer to this building, where they could more believably cross paths? Thanks to our clear, open view of the area, we can estimate the boy could realistically get from the park to the building and then to the evac zone in about 20 to 25 minutes. But 12 to 15 minutes? Unlikely. Time issues aside, the prologue raises a significant amount of questions that cast the reality of the scenario into doubt. Why didn't one of the low-resolution sprites stop the boy? And why are the sprites running towards a Reaper? Why does the child go towards a building people are evacuating? Why and how did he scale to the top balcony? How does he manage to pass through a locked door? How does he avoid being incinerated by the Reaper blast? Why is he so confident that Shepard can't help him? How does he vanish from the vent in a matter of 3 seconds without us hearing this? And instead hearing this.
Shepard! In here.
After overcoming all of these affronts to realism, the boy suddenly appears at the evac zone and purposefully directs his gaze towards Shepard. Staying true to his claim that he cannot be helped, he is not assisted or even noticed by anyone in the area, even though everyone else seems to have no trouble finding someone to assist them. After being frightened by a Reaper destroyer, he helps himself into the nearest shuttle. However, instead of scrambling further inside to hide, he stands defiantly in the open doorway. With a composed and possibly even arrogant posture, he locks eyes with Shepard once again. Shortly after, this boy, who happens to be the only child ever seen in a Mass Effect game, is extinguished. This event sets the emotional tone for the entire game. Shepard's trek to the evac zone was arduous, perilous, and potentially deadly. In stark contrast, the boy reaches the evac zone without so much as a hair out of place. Being that we just made the trip ourselves, it doesn't take much of an imagination to visualize what the boy would have gone through to reach the shuttles. He trivializes Shepard's feat by reaching the evac zone by himself while eluding any and all perils, including Reaper ground forces. Ultimately, he does not have a scratch on him. There is no dirt on his hands, face, or on his clothing, which happens to be in perfect condition.
Makes sense.
Why would BioWare apply painstaking levels of detail to the vast majority of the prologue, only to provide an overinflated need for suspension of disbelief for the boy? In fact, all of the circumstances, events, and details involving the boy are questionable to some extent, with no exceptions. As with many of the themes we'll be covering in this series, it is unmistakably a pattern. The only truly subjective question here is, what is the nature of that pattern? And most importantly, how does that pattern fit in with the fact that the boy is chosen to represent the Reapers and their exposition on the final, ultimate decision in your story?
Wake up.
All kinds of details falling right out of the sky. Not an immortal. If your father let you die, God's time limitation found a way to make you a savior.
Who are you?
Today
I am the catalyst.
I'm just a lie. I'm not a friend, just a sick, corrosive sound.